This month marks 2 years into Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and while many thought the fight would have been done and dusted in a few weeks, if not days, the Ukrainians proved otherwise. Simon Shuster wrote a biography of Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelenskyy, and he tells Inside Edition Digital, if there's one thing to predict with this war, it is that it is unpredictable.
Don't make predictions because they usually turn out to be wrong. But mine certainly have. But there are some clear things we can say about where the war is going, certainly where President Zelenskyy and his team are aiming to take it. One thing that's important to pay attention to is the peace process that they're working on. At the end of 2022, President Zelenskyy did present a 10-point peace plan, and his chief of staff, Andrei Yermak, has been working on bringing that peace process to life, essentially developing the architecture for a possible future negotiation to end the war. The other dimension to really pay attention to, I think, is domestic production of weapons inside Ukraine. They are ramping up as fast as they can. I think the war is moving in the direction of what Zelenskyy calls active defense. So that does mean a pretty static front line in terms of the infantry fighting and trench warfare. But a lot of these attacks using drones, missiles, long distance attacks, striking deep inside Russian territory, in Crimea, far behind enemy lines. And a lot of those attacks are conducted with homemade, Ukrainian-made weapons. And that has become a massive priority for Zelenskyy as Western aid declines and as we face the very real possibility of Donald Trump returning to the White House. The Ukrainians are preparing for such eventualities by increasing their own production of weapons so that they are not forced into some kind of negotiation or capitulation that they refuse to take part in.
As Ukraine has changed, so has its leader.
His transformation and evolution as a leader, as a person, has been really dramatic and fascinating to watch and to follow. You know, in the early days when I met him, when he was running for president, yeah, he was fairly naive about what the challenges of the presidency would be like. And he did run a campaign that was in some ways similar to what Donald Trump had done in the United States, not in terms of policies or positions, but in terms of running as an outsider, promising to drain the swamp, promising to breathe new blood, bring fresh faces into the political leadership. In that way, they were similar. They also had the similarity of both being natives of the entertainment industry. Since then, you know, I think there have been several stages in the evolution of Zelenskyy's character. He quickly became disillusioned with alliances, and he saw that allies of Ukraine really are driven by their interests, their political interests, their national interests, and rarely are they driven by shared values or common goals. But the main transformation I saw in him was during the full-scale invasion. So those early weeks and months when he really stepped into the persona that we now see every day on our news feeds and television screens, kind of wartime leader from central casting. That transformation was really stark, and honestly, I didn't think he had it in him. I was surprised when he was able to play that role so effectively and so convincingly, and to really inspire the world to believe in Ukraine's victory, and to provide all the support that Ukraine has gotten.
As for what the war between Russia and Ukraine has taught us,
there are a lot of lessons in terms of the future of armed conflict, the obsolescence of tanks in a world where drones are so cheap and so deadly and so destructive. Another lesson is don't underestimate the underdog. Just don't bet all your chips on the mathematically most likely scenario. Human resilience, human ingenuity, these things can surprise us in various ways, in ways that no one predicts. So I think this whole war has taught me certainly to be very humble about assumptions assumptions about the relative strength of various geopolitical players or figures or leaders or people.
For Inside Edition Digital, I'm Sal Bono.